I want to talk to you for just a moment about the difference between subconscious and conscious mindsets. Subconscious mindset was something you were born with. The subconscious mind, a little child, when it's very, very small, you're the only filter as a parent. If you're the parent of a child, you're the only filter they have of what type of information, what type of influences they have going into their little vulnerable brains. I can't hardly say that word, vulnerable. Their vulnerable brains. You as a parent protect what's going in to their brain, the programming that is designing their thoughts, designing the way that they feel, designing the way that they react to things. And you can be programmed all your life with your subconscious programming. You can control that, believe it or not. You can choose which way your subconscious programming goes or where it doesn't go. Now, there comes an age of every human being when they're very small that they move from a parent protecting what goes in and out of their minds to that person themselves, that child growing up and actually being strong enough mentally to decide on their own what is best for them. It happens gradually. It doesn't happen overnight, but there is a time, a threshold that they cross over where they actually become conscious of what is right or wrong, or what is good to do or what's not good to do, decisions that need to be made. You can look back in the Bible and actually see a story of this where Adam and Eve were running around the garden naked. They didn't have any clothes on. They didn't have any. They were basically just innocent. No mindset of anything wrong or right. No mindset of anything but joy. No mindset of anything, like a little child, like a little baby. Well, there was a tree in the Garden of Eden, in the center of the garden, right in the middle of it. Isn't that significant? Well, that tree had a name. Most of you might not remember what the name of this tree was. But the tree was entitled in the Bible, the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Isn't that interesting? Because the knowledge of good and evil is your conscience kicking in. Your conscience kicking in. Well, you have your subconscious programming, you have your conscious mind, and you have conscience. Okay? In other words, you're building your conscience. You're building your development between that small childhood and moving up in age. You're developing the ability to choose between right and wrong. So when they ate of that tree in the middle of the garden, immediately when they were running around naked, they tried to find something to cover their nakedness with. They covered themselves with a fig leaf, remember? Well, they become conscious of all their surroundings, and their conscience started triggering responses of what is correct or right or wrong. Okay, now, obviously, they had directions that were given to them, instructions that were given to them. Don't eat of the tree in the center of the garden. That's the only rule. But when they did eat, they left their innocency and they walked into what we call responsibility world. The world of adulthood, the world of being responsible for our own actions. Well, listen, folks. As we develop, we're being developed to think the way we think right now. And if you're developed thought patterns, if you're developed reaction patterns, if your developed interaction is not working, it's probably because your subconscious programming is causing your conscious mind to react in a way that it shouldn't. And therefore, you're always covered up with chaos and you're constantly dealing with things you don't understand why, and you can't intermingle with the thought patterns of others correctly because your thought patterns are distracted. Your thought patterns are like a computer that has pop-ups consistently. Every time you try to go somewhere mentally, you're constantly having pop-ups telling you this is what you need to look at. This is what you need to be thinking about. This is what you need to be concentrating and focusing on instead of what you actually need to be focused on. Now, if we turn this around and we control this and we start programming and forcing disciplines that interact heavily, repetitively, because subconscious programming is developed over time with repetitive feeding of your mind with the same information over and over until it finally becomes a natural thing. Okay? And then once that subconscious programming is where it needs to be, then your conscious mind is capable of actually making the correct decisions that will take yourself forward. It will be in harmony with what needs to be in your life. You know, your subconscious programming sometimes cannot be correct. We need to defrag our computer. We need to get rid of the old files that are no longer any good. We need to isolate any contaminated files in our brain, and we need to make sure that we delete and purge any thoughts that should not be there. Now, if you're going to actually be effective, you need to be in control, not your negative impacts in your life or your incorrect programming in your life. You can choose right now to do repetitive actions over and over and over so that they become natural, that are good actions, that create good interaction, and that create all the things that you hoped for when you wonder why they're not happening now. It starts with the way that you think. And if you'll get your mind where it needs to be, what will happen will absolutely amaze you. This is Jef Welch. I hope this helps you today, and I hope you apply it and share it with others. Thank you.